Shabbat Shalom. Our scripture reading for today is Yohanan chapter 14, verses 2 through 3. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you unto myself, that where I am, there ye may be also.
Shabbat Shalom, family. Our selection today, Plenty Good Room.
The oracles of the UCI. 1 Peter chapter 4, verses 7 through 11. But the end of all things is at hand. Be you therefore sober, and watch unto prayer. And above all things have fervent love among yourselves, for love shall cover the multitude of sins. Use hospitality one to another without grudging. As every man has received the gift, even so minister the same one to another as good stewards of the manifold grace of Elohim. If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of Elohim. If any man minister, let him do it as of the ability which Elohim gives, that Elohim in all things may be glorified through Yahshua the Mashiach, to whom be praise and dominion forever and ever. Amen. Ephesians chapter 4, verses 29 through chapter 5 and verse 4. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. And grieve not the Holy Spirit of Elohim, whereby you're sealed until the day of redemption. Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. And be you kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as Elohim for Yahshua's sake has forgiven you. Be you therefore followers of Elohim, as dear children, and walk in love, as the Mashiach also have loved us, and has given himself for us an offering and sacrifice to Elohim for a sweet-smelling savor. But fornication, and all uncleanness, or covetousness, let it not be once named among you as become saints. Neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor jesting, which are not convenient, but rather given of thanks. Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verses 1 and 2. Keep your foot when you go to the house of Elohim, and be more ready to hear than to give the sacrifice of fools, for they consider not that they do evil. Be not rash with your mouth, and let not your heart be hasty to utter anything before Elohim. For Elohim is in heaven, and you upon earth. Therefore, let your words be few. Exodus chapter 23, verses 20 and 21. Behold, I send an angel before you to keep you in the way, and to bring you into the place which I have prepared. Beware of him, and obey his voice. Provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him. Revelations chapter 3, verses 20 through 22. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come into him and will sup with him, and he with me. To him that overcomes will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I have also overcame and have sat down with my Father in his throne. He that has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says unto the churches.
All right, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Which is peace on the Yahweh's holy Sabbath day. Welcome to another holy convocation that Yahweh has enjoined unto us. When we examine certain parts of the book, we read things where it says that everyone that is left, when we understand that and just meditate upon that, we have to understand that Yahweh is going to go through a serious cleansing process upon the earth. While man is doing his own job, man is trying to cleanse the earth for themselves, not understanding that while they're doing their thing, Yahweh is also doing his. So Yahweh will allow the powers that be to do one part because they, of course, don't include themselves in any of the cleansing. But then, of course, he's going to come behind that and do everything that he needs to do. But if we're going to take part into that, then we have to really consider the things that are written in this book as instructions for us. So it gets difficult when you hear all of the various doctrines that people are putting forth. You have from one end of the spectrum, God loves everybody. Then you have from the other end of the spectrum where people stay in certain books of the law and everything is strictly hardcore. And Yahweh is neither one of those things. He is all of those things combined. This is why he says, I am that I am. Don't try to find something to a box to put him in, because you don't have a box to put him in. You don't have anything that you can mentally put together that could hold the power of Yahweh. So do not try. Whatever that is, I am that. Don't try to figure this out, because you're going to end up coming up short, and you're going to end up getting yourself in a situation by trying to formulate something for Elohim to be. We never even considered the statement God is love as being one of the more disrespectful things, as if that's all he could be. He says he feels anger, he feels aggression, he feels jealousy, but when people believe that they're doing the right thing, they believe that they're doing something nice, they say God is love. He's way more than that. He's not just that thing, but that's one of our attempts to make some box for him to fit in. And we have to understand that he is a lover of principles, not just people. And this is where we get mixed up as believers. Once we understand that we're Israel, sometimes we go too far into us being Israel and not understand that he's more interested in the principle than the people. And if we don't get that, we'll be proclaiming how much we're Israel as we're sliding off into the lake of fire. Now, when we examine Yahweh's law, we discover that he dislikes certain principles, not certain peoples. When we examine the principles and not the people, we are not blinded by the position they hold in our lives. When I was young, my mother used to say constantly that God don't like ugly. As I got older, I noticed that this statement was always said about other people's ugly, never our family ugly. The Most High, in his powerful yet protective way, let me know that he didn't like my ugly either. As it is written, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated. Did Yahweh create a people that he hates? Or did he see the principles of those people and moved his heart as they moved themselves? We fail to see the purity in this type of thinking. When the principles are disliked, it doesn't matter who commits the action. It doesn't matter if it's the apple of his eye, a man after his own heart, or an infidel. When we examine the principles and not the people, we keep ourselves from rendering incorrect judgment based upon what the person means to us. Let's begin today's sermon in Deuteronomy chapter 16. Deuteronomy chapter 16, and we're going to read verses 18 through 20. See, there's certain parts that we read when it says, if you love your brother, you shall rebuke him and not suffer sin upon him. So which one is love? Was it love that you smiled in his face while he committed something that's worthy of punishment? Or is it really love that you rebuke him so that he sees what he has done and know not to keep doing it? Which one is love? See, we have been taught that love makes us feel good. Sometimes love make you cry. Sometimes love hurt your feelings. Is it not now love because you don't feel a certain way today? Deuteronomy chapter 16, and let's read verses 18 through 20.
Judges and officers shall you make you in all your gates, which Yahweh your Elohim gives you, throughout your tribes, and they shall judge the people with just judgment.
They shall judge the people with just judgment. Now, these are things that Yahweh is making in the land of Israel so that righteousness goes forth. Now, they're being charged with a job. Now, we understand that how these things are done in Babylon, there is no just judgment here. We know that. The whole criminal justice system was created for us. We understand that. So if we're looking at how they're doing things, we cannot base how we're going to set up things in a righteous kingdom. It cannot resemble what we see here in this land. Go ahead.
You shall not wrest judgment. You shall not respect persons, neither take a gift. For a gift does blind the eyes of the wise and pervert the words of the righteous.
Right. One of the things that we do to receive those gifts is we join all of these secret organizations. Most of the times people are joining those secret organizations so we can get favor. So we go in the court, throwing all our signs and whatnot, They reading the charges and you... Yeah, come on, man. But that's what we do. That's why we even get in the organization. So we can get some kind of leniency for the things that we may have committed. So what we are doing, we in our own selves are trying to wrest judgment. Wrest judgment means you're trying to cause righteous judgment to decline. You're trying to cause righteous judgment to decline against you. That's why you join the secret organization. Got your special handshakes, your special stances. We have to deal with these things and call them evil on every side. But we don't like to do that because we still want to achieve certain things. Go ahead.
That which is altogether just shall you follow, that you may live and inherit the land which Yahweh your Elohim gives you. You shall not plant you a grove of any trees near unto the altar of
As
Yahweh.
far as I want to go right there. I want to go now to, let's go to Exodus. Because you're going to find that Yahweh is stacking the deck, if you will, in his law when it comes down to certain principles. Exodus chapter 23, and we're going to read verses 1 through 9. Because, y'all know us. We'll read one book, but won't read the other one. So Yahweh like, that's all right. I'm going to put it in each one of the books. I got you. I'm going to make sure you're gonna come across this principle. So when we get to the part where it says, because some people, it's too much for them to get their mind around Yahweh hating something or somebody. But it's the actions that they abide by. It's the actions that they use to do what they do. And some, no matter what you try to teach them, they are going to operate the way they want to operate. And once you figure that out, why cast your pearls among swine? Exodus chapter 23, and let's read verses 1 through 9.
You shall not raise a false report. Put not your hand with the wicked to be an unrighteous witness. You shall not follow a multitude to do evil, neither shall you speak in a cause to decline after many to wrest judgment. Neither shall you countenance a poor man in his cause. If you meet your enemy's ox or his ass going astray, you shall surely bring it back to him again.
Now, how many of us have it in us to do that? Go ahead.
If you see the ass of him that hates you lying under his burden, and would forbear to help him, you shall surely help with him. You shall not rest the judgment of your poor in his cause.
If you see the ass of him that hates you, he hate you, you know he hate you. Go ahead.
Keep you far from a false matter, and the innocent and righteous slay you not, for I will not justify the wicked.
So once we move in a place to put ourselves in wickedness, it doesn't matter what tribe you're from. You can boast about your tribal breakdown or whatever that is. You can do all that all day. He will not justify the wicked. Go ahead.
And you shall take no gift, for the gift blinds the wise and perverts the words of the righteous.
Right. And that gift could be just our acceptance to be in a certain group or be in a certain circle of individuals. We have gifts in our own family. You notice one thing that and we don't even consider how you may be, raising a child with a complete mind screw. That you tell this child, don't be a person that don't take care of his kids. And then that kid grow up and he says all that. And then the kid has another sibling that don't take care of their kid, but you make an excuse for the second kid. You realize how you just screwed up the first one? You tell one kid, don't you put your hand on a woman. Then the next kid can't keep his hands off a woman, and you blame all the women. You realize by trying to appease the second one, you realize how bad you screwed up that first one? You told him all of those things, and he operated his life by that. Then you threw it all out the window so that you can not put righteous judgment on your other child. So you're trying to save one and screwing up both of them. Go ahead.
Also, you shall not oppress a stranger, for you know the heart of a stranger, seeing you were strangers in the land of Egypt.
All right, let's go to Leviticus chapter 19. Leviticus 19, and we're going to read verses 1 through 18.
And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, Speak unto all the congregation of the children of Israel, and say unto them, You shall be holy, for I, Yahweh your El, am holy.
Right. So when we this is one of those things why we always say we can't sit here and talk about we Israel for 20 and 30 years. And what we find when we go out on the internet is we still stuck in the same place. It's like we so happy that we found out that we somebody. We never left the porch. We still sitting on the porch declaring who we are. You can't sit on the porch for 20 years. You just discovered who you are. Yahweh always knew. That was a part of your punishment that you not know. So this is us coming out of the curse. Once you start coming out of it, you have to start operating like you're coming out. But what we want to do, because we have acquired pomp and circumstance in the world, we still want to stay there while say that we're Israel. So we got 1 foot in and 1 foot out. Go ahead.
You shall fear every man his mother and his father, and keep my Sabbaths. I am Yahweh your Elohim.
Right. You shall fear every man his mother and his father. There should be a certain level of respect that you have for your mother and father. Yahweh said he is our father. So how can you have respect for him and you can't respect the natural father who in front of you? Just like he said, how can you love me and you hate your brother? I made your brother. If you hate him, it's only a matter of time before you hate me too. Go ahead.
Turn you not unto idols, nor make to yourselves molten gods. I am Yahweh your Elohim. And if you offer a sacrifice of peace offerings unto Yahweh, you shall offer it at your own will. It shall be eaten the same day you offer it, and on the morrow, and if aught remain until the third day, it shall be burnt in the fire. And if it be eaten at all on the third day, it is abominable. It shall not be accepted. Therefore, everyone that eats it shall bear his lawlessness, because he has profaned the hallowed thing of Yahweh, and that soul shall be cut off from among his people. And when you reap the harvest of your land, you shall not wholly reap the corners of your field, neither shall you gather the gleanings of your harvest. And you shall not glean your vineyard, neither shall you gather every grape of the vineyard. You shall leave them for the poor and stranger. I am Yahweh your Elohim.
Okay, so we don't have a vineyard. We're not planting anything anymore. It's already was difficult enough for us to gather in our mind that every grape in the vineyard is not for us. So what about now that we have a regular 9 to 5 and we get a check? Is every part of that for you? Now let us tell it, God has blessed me. And he done gave me an extra blessing. I'm going to go out and get, you know what, some extra stuff. Come on, that ain't enough. I know, because I was in the middle of the store when I said it. I thought about it. I ain't telling you what I heard. I didn't read this in the book. I saw this at Macy's. Go ahead, bro.
You shall not steal, neither deal falsely, neither lie one to another. And you shall not swear by my name falsely, neither shall you profane the name of your Elohim. I am Yahweh. You shall not defraud your neighbor, neither rob him. The wages of him that is hired shall not abide with you all night until the morning.
Right, and you have to think about how foul this place is. If you're not supposed to hold a man's wages all night, and we got to put 2 weeks in a hole. See, when Yahweh come back to deal with these people, they're going to really think it's unfair. They're going to think that Yahweh has done something wrong to them because they're the evils that we know of. Then there's other evils that we don't even consider. You got a poor man that's got to put in a whole week and a half, 2 weeks before he get paid extra. Now, what if he don't know enough people to borrow money long enough to keep coming to work with lunch money so that he can make it to come out of the hole? There's certain wickedness that we don't even consider. This is a wicked foundation. So if we understand that, when we get ready to set up something, You can't set up things based on the wickedness of man. Now, we might not be able to do everything the way that it is said in the book. We are having to deal with these curses, and we understand that we're in the daughter of Babylon. They ain't going to deal with us like that. So we already have limitations, but we don't have to stack limitations on top of those limitations. We don't have to say, you know what, when I came up, people had to work 30 days, so that's how I'm going to do you. You're going to have to work 30 before you get paid. Sometimes we take it upon us to say, I got to do this to you because this was done to me. You're in a position to not do it. So why do that to them, even though that happened to you? Go ahead.
You shall not curse the deaf, nor put a stumbling block before the blind, but shall fear ye Elohim. I am Yahweh. You shall do no unrighteousness in judgment. You shall not respect the person of the poor, nor honor the person of the mighty. But in righteousness shall you judge your neighbor.
Now, you see, Yahweh is serious about this. He puts this in all parts of his law. We're talking Deuteronomy, Exodus, and Leviticus. Yahweh covers this part. This is how you know the things that mean something to him. And when the things that mean something to him don't mean anything to us, how can you claim that you are a servant of his? We must share in his characteristics. Go ahead.
You shall not go up and down as a talebearer among your people. Neither shall you stand against the blood of your neighbor. I am Yahweh. You shall not hate your brother in your heart. You shall in any wise rebuke your neighbor and not suffer sin upon him.
Now, this is where things get kind of interesting. Verse 17, you shall not hate your brother in your heart. All right? You shall in any wise rebuke your neighbor. That means you say something to him about what he or she has done and not suffer sin upon him. We look at that completely opposite. We think that we are showing hatred when we say something to the brother. Yahweh is saying you showing hatred by not saying something. Said if you loved your brother, you would go and tell. Look here, I don't know what was happening right here, but let's get into some things. He said that's love. So when you hear that whole thing, when people say God is love, it all depends on what they call in love. Because they wouldn't call a brother telling them, hey, this is not how this is supposed to be done. They won't call that love. They think that's judgment. See, judgment carries a box of rocks with it. When there's judgment, there's a penalty. I know a few of y'all done went to court before. They didn't just come in there and just say, you bad, you very, very bad. Now go home. That's not how that happened. That's not how that happened. After they say some things, you walking out of there and your checkbook look funny, or you not coming out. One way. That when you go out the back way to the courtroom, no, you not. When they tell you, come on over here. Uh-oh. I ain't going home, am I? when you going back there where the judge came from, you probably not coming home. That's probably not your day. It would probably be wise for you to get somebody to drive you to court. If you think you're in danger of that. I see you over there twitching, Isaac. I know you just came from court. What you know what I'm saying? You twitch. That seat getting hot over there. What was it? You got something, brother? Something? You all right?
Yeah, I had court yesterday, and before they could take my plea deal and say, okay, before we go ahead and bring up his history. Well, my hard drive. I was like, we're going to see if they're going to settle it or not, because they're going to look at what you did wrong.
Uh-huh. Yeah, so they pull up your history before they see if they're going to accept your plea deal. See, this is when all those other things that you done forgot about. You know what I did? Drive 130. You know what? I ain't even know where to go that day. But afterwards, everything, you realize how much the action didn't make any sense when you got to sit there and answer about it. At the time, everything seemed like it makes sense. Well, I had to keep pushing this person. I had to keep yeah. All that seemed right now. When you have, will you tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? That's when you be like, this was stupid as all get out. That's when you realize that you went too far. And we have to get to that point where we figure that out before we're standing in front of the judge. You got to figure out how far I'm going to go with this. How far does this need to go? And now there's certain situations you're not going to be able to talk down. There are some people that they are hell-bent on they're going to cause you some problems today. And aside from you just taking out running, you're going to end up dealing with that as long as those people are in your presence. That's why the book said, have peace with all men as much as lies in you. There's something that lies in you, then you can try to be peaceful. That way, when it comes time to let the monkey out the bag, and everybody got a monkey in a bag. When it comes time to let that monkey out the bag, you ain't got no talk. Well, see what happened, Yahshua. I didn't mean to let the monkey out the bag. By the time when I let this monkey out the bag, this monkey gonna run all the way across the room. I'm telling you, this he know when I let this monkey out, but I'm gonna try my best not to let this monkey out. He gonna know. No, he tried 5, 6, 7 times not to let the monkey out. The monkey crawled out. I watched Suck push the monkey back in. Because we know, we've seen this monkey before. This monkey's mean. He's a mean monkey. I try not to let him out. But when I didn't hit all my points, here we go. But do we allow ourselves, it should be as you get better and stronger in the word, it should be longer and longer for that monkey to jump out the bag. When they jump, pow! All right, that's he'll give you, all right, now you new in the word, I'm gonna let that slide. As you start getting further down in the word and it still jump out like that, oh, he gonna pull you to the side. Huh? Come in, I need to talk to you. That's still coming out at the same speed that it used to come out before. That needs to start spacing out. He didn't tell you to get rid of it, because at some point, he gonna need that monkey. He didn't tell you to get rid of it. You got to learn how to control it. We keep thinking that we got to get rid of everything. No, you have to learn how to control something. But to be able to control it, you got to be able to set it down for a while. That's why I decided for a whole period of my life, I wasn't carrying no weapons because I had an anger management problem. Something happened. Bye-bye. What happened? What? People swerve close to me. What? Did you? Nah, man, I can't carry this thing. I don't have the right temperament for this. I had to leave that thing for 10 years. Then when your temperament get right, you can be in the middle of an argument, still trying to talk the person down. I got 82 bullets on my person. I'm still trying. Brother, please, can we talk? Can we talk? Now, the younger me would have been like, brother, where you want this hole at? Where you want it? How you want it? You know what I'm saying? Head or gut? Where you want it at? See, but once you change, you got 82. I got extendo clips. You understand? You know what I'm saying? I mean, just 3 of them. I got 65. You know what I'm saying? But I'm still trying to talk down this situation. Can we talk about it? Because I know what's gonna happen. I mean, if I let go one, I might as well go and let go all 65. So either we gonna do this or we not gonna do this. Let's try not to do this. But if you give me no choice but to do this, I got to do this. But if we're walking in this word, it should be a longer span before we get there. That's what's called growth. Go ahead, bro.
Brother, when you look at verse 17, we can cherry pick that as we've been taught and raised in the system. It says, you shall not hate your brother in your heart. So we can do it for our own advantage. Well, it says my brother, or your brother can then turn around and use it. But then it says, you shall in any wise rebuke your neighbor and not suffer sin. We'll break it up and say, well, see, that's talking about your brother. I'm your brother.
Right.
I'm not your neighbor, so you can't rebuke me. No, it's one and the same. But we'll split that up, or we'll allow people to split that up and come on that brotherly tip. Bro, I'm your brother, not your neighbor.
Yeah, we play all kind of games. But all those games, just like, everybody is innocent at the jailhouse. Let's see them games work in front of Yahshua when it's time to go to court. Play with the ultimate lawyer and judge, and let's see how it work out for you. Go ahead.
You shall not avenge nor bear any grudge against the children of your people, but you shall love your neighbor as yourself. I am Yahweh.
Right, and that's another one that we use. Because it says love your neighbor as yourself, we believe if we treat ourselves in an old kind of way, then we ought to be able to treat I'm loving him just like I love myself. I don't love me. You should see the stuff I did to me last week. I'm doing him the same thing I did to me last week, so I'm in God's graces. Yeah, okay, keep thinking that. Let's go to Ezekiel chapter 33. See, if you don't get into the volume of the book, you really don't understand that statement. Love thy neighbor as thyself. See? Because we pick and choose how we want to so-called show love. And when we pick and choose that, we think that we can pick and choose how we deal with our neighbor. But Yahweh has set forth how we're supposed to deal with even ourselves. He has set forth how we're supposed to show love to ourselves. So with that being said, that's the same thing that we have to do to our neighbor. Ezekiel chapter 33, and let's read verses 1 through 20.
Again the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, speak to the children of your people, and say unto them, when I bring the sword upon a land, if the people of the land take a man of their coast, and set him for their watchman, if when he sees the sword come upon the land, he blow the trumpet and warn the people.
All right, now this is all about, a watchman over the land. But understand, this is the situation that he's describing is a inclusive situation of everybody. Pause and take that down to a one-on-one situation. That there's a watchman who's just looking at a situation with you. See, we take that situation and make it, that this is the only way that it can happen. No. What if Yahweh make you the watchman over another situation? Or he sends a watchman over your situation, and you decide you're not going to hear. Okay, keep reading.
Then whosoever hears the sound of the trumpet and takes not warning, if the sword come and take him away, his blood shall be upon his own head.
Right, because you thought you knew better and you wanted to do it your way. There are some individuals that no matter what you tell them, they always got a better way than yours. So what happens if you find out that that was the watchman that Yahweh sent to instruct you? But you said, you know what, I got a better way. Go ahead.
He heard the sound of the trumpet and took not warning. His blood shall be upon him, but he that takes warning shall deliver his soul. But if the watchman see the sword come and blow not the trumpet, and the people be not warned, if the sword come and take any person from among them, he is taken away in his lawlessness, but his blood will I require at the watchman's hand.
Okay, now take this individually as well. That Yahweh has put something on your heart about a situation. You are then the watchman in that situation. You decide, you know what, I don't want this, going to be uncomfortable. If I say this, it's going to be an uncomfortable conversation between me and that brother or that sister. It's going to be uncomfortable, so I don't want to say it. And then that person end up getting dealt with. You're going to get dealt with too, because he pushed you to deal with it and you decided that you would not. This is that neutral gear that we like to be in. Go ahead.
Even on that thing, it says, if the sword come and take any person from among them, he's taken away in his lawlessness, but his blood will I require at the watchman's hand.
Uh-huh.
What if it's multiple people?
Yeah.
We
Then
just
you got
looking-
multiple people's
right.
blood on your hand. It ain't just one. So all of the people who are, in that situation, this is how we have to examine the difference between what Yahweh is leading us to do and what we want to do our own selves. This is where we have to, this is why sometimes you have to sit back and meditate a little bit. Go ahead.
So you, O son of man, I've set you a watchman unto the house of Israel. Therefore you shall hear the word at my mouth and warn them from me.
Right. He heard the word at Yahweh's mouth, so the words that he's speaking comes from Yahweh. Go ahead.
When I say unto the wicked, O wicked man, you shall surely die.
Now, what if the wicked man your friend? See, now we scared to say, what if the wicked man your son or your daughter? Let's get a little bit more personal than your friend. What if it happened, if it's Sugar Nook? You gonna say it? Oh, wicked wife. You gonna say it? You gonna say it? Oh, you scared to say it? Oh, some of us can be real, man. See, some of us have our own little Achilles heel. See, some of us will get in any man's face. I'm talking about 400 pounds full of muscle. Jump in his face. Rah, 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 rah. A 82-pound sister come up. I just can't say it to her. Well, wait. But you say it to the 400-pound muscle-bound guy? But 82.52 got you? Wow. Don't think the devil don't see it. He see that place where you're scared to step. And that's how he coming. Go ahead.
If you does not speak to warn the wicked from his way, that wicked man shall die in his lawlessness, but his blood will I require at your hand. Nevertheless, if you warn the wicked of his way to turn from it, if he do not turn from his way, he shall die in his lawlessness, but you have delivered your soul. Therefore, O you son of man, speak unto the house of Israel. Thus you speak.
Now,
saying,
understand something. It ain't no easy thing to speak to the children of Israel. Okay? A lot of times, we have this thing, especially what Sunday morning has turned, a prophecy into. It's a whole lot of personal prophecy. It's prophecy about specific individuals. With all the things we got going on, Yahweh just give people prophecy about, one person in aisle number 8. For real? And you just so happen to have to pay for that prophecy. So you got to get in the $1,000 tithing line to get that prophecy. I don't remember any of these prophets receiving a pre-prophetic payment. Where is your PPP loan? I do not remember, not a nary one of them got a pre-prophetic payment. Not one. But what this has turned into is a game of funds. That if you pay enough money, you can come to the front of the church and get a personal prophecy all about you. What about the rest of the whole nation? Ain't they gonna happen with us? Just you who got enough money to pay your PPP. There's something wrong with that. Go ahead.
Thus you speak, saying, if our transgressions and our sin be upon us, and we pine away in them, how should we then live? Say unto them, as I live, says the Adonai, I have no pleasure in the death of the wicked.
I have no pleasure in the death of the wicked. He rather you change the principles that you walk in and live. Go ahead.
But that the wicked turn from his way and live. Turn you from your evil ways. For why will you die, O house of Israel? Therefore, you son of man, say unto the children of your people, the righteousness of the righteous shall not deliver him in the day of his transgression. As for the wickedness of the wicked, he shall not fall thereby in the day that he turns from his wickedness.
Now, we can deal with one part. It's that second part that bothers us. See, we want, once a person is wicked, we want them to always be wicked because we don't want to change our mindset in how we deal with that person. Now, we got, as for, therefore, son of man, say up to the children of your people, the righteousness of the righteous shall not deliver him the day of his transgression. So even though he was righteous before, when he sins, he has wiped all of that off. Now he got to deal with his sin. Okay, that part we accept. We don't necessarily like it, but we still deal with it. This other part we absolutely loathe. As for the wickedness of the wicked, he shall not fall thereby in the day that he turns from his wickedness. Neither shall the righteous be able to live for his righteousness in the day that he sins. See, once we have gotten to the point where, this person is wicked, we don't like him. Now, that individual turns from wickedness, but we still got them in the wicked pile. He said, well, but this person has changed. Oh, yeah, they're always wicked to me. Yep, but this person has judged themselves. No, they was in the wicked pile. I don't move people like my wicked pile. Once they get in the pile, they're in the pile forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. Forever. What if he did that to us? What if he did that? So I went by there and I looked and I said, you know what I remember something. I saw you was at the top of the wicked pile. Matter of fact, you was leading wickedness. It was a team called Wickedness, and you was the coach. I'm sorry, I forgot that. You go back to wickedness. What if he did that to us? Go ahead.
Some of us might want to check how closely we are related to Jonah. He didn't want to give it up. He didn't want Nineveh. No, they're wicked.
Hey, he didn't. Matter of fact, not only that, he said it beforehand. I know you forgiven. I just don't want them to be forgiven. I don't even want to go. It's like, I just say, I know you. You're going to mess around and forgive these people. And I don't want them to be forgiven. But if they turn, don't they deserve forgiveness just like us? Go ahead.
When I shall say to the righteous that he shall surely live, if he trust his own righteousness and commit lawlessness, all his righteousness shall not be remembered, but for his lawlessness that he has committed, he shall die for it.
Right. So that means when we commit wickedness, we burn up all our previous works. This is why we can't do one thing and say, I did a good deed. I gave alms one time. I almed, past tense. But the problem is you keep doing stuff. See, that's just the nature of the flesh. So whenever we think that, we have done something past tense, so we done, I can tell you, no, you about to get done. Lucifer is setting you up. This is why Yahshua says, who do you think will love him most? One whom he forgave most. That way, this individual know, I can't never stop working. I'm going to always be working for the kingdom some kind of way. Why? Because I know where I came from. And I got sense enough to know that as I go along this journey, I'm going to misstep. I'm not going to plan to misstep, but life has taught me that even though I put one foot in front of the other, sometimes I'm going to trip. I've been walking for a long time. But you realize something, all ground ain't flat. See, when somebody trying to teach a kid how to walk, only a real demonic person put a kid on a hill. All right, let me see if you can walk. There's something wrong with you. There's something really wrong with you. There's something deep down that's wrong with you. You must have been them people who put the cat in the microwave. There's something seriously wrong with you. There's something mentally gone. You don't put no kid on no hill and say, let me see if you can balance yourself. Don't do that. But you got to understand, in your walk, you started walking on flat ground. I know you didn't think all the ground was going to always be flat, right? So then walking gets difficult based on the terrain that you got to walk on. We have to consider that. Go ahead.
Again, when I say unto the wicked, you shall surely die, if he turn from his sin and do that which is lawful and right. If the wicked restore the pledge, give again that he had robbed, walk in the statutes of life, without committing lawlessness, he shall surely live, he shall not die.
So then this is a turning point given for all men. If the wicked restore the pledge, give that again that he had robbed. See, we think we make something even when we just, my bad, dog. No, that's not taking care of that, because that stuff you stole is still missing over here. Your bad don't cut that. This is why you find some brothers like Samuel and Moshe said, if I have sinned against any man, produce it. If you say that I've taken something to you, let me know and I'll give it to you right now. Produce your cause against me. Because, you know, Jake will imagine some causes against you. See, Jake will imagine some causes, and in their heart, they really believe that you have done something against. Produce it. You say I've done it, produce it, I pay it. Go ahead.
None of his sins that he has committed shall be mentioned unto him. He has done that which is lawful and right, he shall surely live.
He shall surely live. But when that person turns from their wickedness, are we able to step and put them in a different bag than the bag that we had them in? Go ahead.
Yet the children of your people say, the way of the Adonai is not equal.
Check that out. Now we got a problem with Yahweh. We don't like that Yahweh is forgiving to other people other than us. Now we'll pray for forgiveness. Forgive me, Yahweh, but burn them. Go ahead.
But as for them, their way is not equal. When the righteous turns from his righteousness and commits lawlessness, he shall even die thereby. But if the wicked turn from his wickedness and do that which is lawful and right, he shall live thereby. Yet you say, the way of the Adonai is not equal. O you house of Israel, I will judge you every one after his ways.
Now this is where things can get really confusing, because we look at something and we say, you know, hey, these people won't make it in the kingdom, or and these other people will. Now imagine you've seen somebody do good for years and years and years, and then they turn from that good, but you remember mostly good. Then there's other people who you've seen do mostly evil, then they turn from that evil. When Yahshua returns, you're going to see a different set of people there than what you were expecting to see. See, the people who you remember doing good couldn't continue in good. And the people who you remember doing bad didn't continue in bad. Are we ready for that? Let's go to Isaiah chapter 58. See, it's the principles that Yahweh is examining. See, a lot of times people make it personal. Oh, you looking at me, you judging me. No, I'm judging the principles that you operate by. And those principles don't change because it's somebody that you like. And that's one of the things that we constantly have in families. Matter of fact, our whole thing that we grew up hearing, blood is thicker than water. See, that was to imply that you're supposed to be, you know, stronger when it comes to your blood. In other words, oh, I'm supposed to overlook their evil because they family. No. Let's go ahead and put it on out on the table. Don't have do it. Go ahead and just be honest with this whole blood is thicker than water thing. You mean that I need to okay their wickedness because they're family? That's what you're telling me. That ain't how my God operates. So that ain't how I operate. Go ahead.
Cry aloud, spare not. Lift up your voice like a trumpet and show my people their transgression.
My people. See? We don't have any problem showing other people their transgression. We have a problem showing our people their transgression. Our biggest problem is showing the people in our house transgression. Look, you've done such and such. Now we'll go outside the house. We ain't got no problem. You you. Go in the house, go in the living room, and do that same thing. You. That's what Yahweh doing. He said, my people. I need you to do this with my people. He ain't telling you to do something he ain't gonna do. He said, I'm gonna judge heaven. Are you not worthy to judge the smallest of matters? Go ahead.
And the house of Jacob their sins. Yet they seek me daily and delight to know my ways, as a nation that did righteousness and forsook not the ordinance of their El. They ask of me the ordinances of justice. They take delight in approaching unto Elohim.
Right, because it sounds real nice. You know, when you got all those, nice sayings, we are more than conquerors. Oh, that sounds so wonderful. Then you start talking about these principles that, well, wait a minute, you're going too far. You're talking about keeping the Sabbath. We got Little League games on Saturday. You know what I'm saying? Right. Go ahead.
Wherefore have we fasted, say they, and you see it not? Wherefore have we afflicted our soul, and you take no knowledge? Behold, in the day of your fast you find pleasure, and exact all your labors.
Now, I know that African dude, Rich, he would have found some pleasure or something when he decided to do that 40-day fast and died around day, 25? You got to be kidding me. So he ain't have to worry about it. He really fasted. But see, there's certain situations that you have to learn. The Spirit is going to have to be needed for certain things. This is some serious thing. You can count 2 people, Yahshua and Moshe, with the 40-day fast. I'm fine with that number right there. That Yahweh, I don't need to add no more to that right there. You did that. You did that. You did. What DJ Khaled said? God did. That's all. I'm done. We ain't got to do no more. Please don't put me on that list. I'm done. I believe you can do it. I believe that. But just make sure my name not on that list. This is nothing to play with. Go ahead.
Behold, you fast for strife and debate, and to smite with the fist of wickedness. You shall not fast as you do this day, to make your voice to be heard on high. Is it such a fast that I have chosen? A day for a man to afflict his soul? Is it to bow down his head as a bulrush, and to spread sackcloth and ashes under him? Will you call this a fast and an acceptable fast to Yahweh? Is not this the fast that I have chosen? To loose the bands of wickedness, to undo the heavy burdens, and to let the oppressed go free, and that you break every yoke? Is it not to deal your bread to the hungry, and that you bring the poor that are cast out to your house? When you see the naked, that you cover him, and that you hide not yourself from your own flesh? Then shall your light break forth as the morning, and your health shall spring forth speedily, and your righteousness shall go before you. The glory of Yahweh shall be your reward. Then shall you call, and Yahweh shall answer. You shall cry, and he shall say, Here I am. If you take away from the midst of you the yoke, the putting forth of the finger, and speaking vanity, and if you draw out your soul to the hungry, and satisfy the afflicted soul, then shall your light rise in obscurity, and your darkness be as the noonday. And Yahweh shall guide you continually, and satisfy your soul in drought, and make fat your bones, and you shall be like a watered garden, and like a spring of water, whose waters fail not. And they that shall be of you shall build the always places. You shall raise up the foundations of many generations, and you shall be called the repairer of the breach, the restorer of paths to dwell in. If you turn away your foot from the Sabbath.
See, there's certain things that we have to consider. If Yahweh is our Elohim and the things that he loves, we learn to love, then how are we going to step on his Sabbath and say that we are one of his? See, even these little secret societies or whatever that we join, they have certain rules and regulations. Gangs got rules and regulations. You can't wear red to a crip party. They looking at you, what you got on, brother? Don't you understand this blue town? You can't wear no red in here. They got rules. Yahweh said, how you gonna claim me, but you stepping on my Sabbath? And see, there are many ways to step on the Sabbath. See, we say, well, I don't go out because, you have an increasing number of Christians who are reading this book and are realizing that the things that they are being taught are not quite right. But we have a level of how far we want to go when dealing with that. So you have some that are reading this and they know, hey, Sunday ain't the Sabbath. But we'll still go. When are you stepping on the Sabbath then? There's more than one way to step on the Sabbath. See? He set apart this day as separate. Whenever you make something else equal to or greater than, your foot on it. That's all you got to do. Make something else the same level and you have stepped on it. It's not sanctified anymore. It's not set apart. Set apart meaning it's supposed to be by itself. How can it be by itself when you got 2 or 3 things that you're doing the same way? It ain't set apart then. You stepped on it. Go ahead.
From doing your pleasure on my holy day, and call the Sabbath a delight, the holy of Yahweh, honorable, and shall honor him, not doing your own ways, nor finding your own pleasure, nor speaking your own words. Then shall you delight yourself in Yahweh, and I'll cause you to ride upon the high places of the earth, and feed you with the heritage of Jacob your father, for the mouth of Yahweh hath spoken it.
Right. And as we start to realize these things in our growth, we have to start making a gradual way, or a way that we're going to step away from those things. Understanding that Yahweh expects it of us. The more we grow in understanding, the more he expects out of us. There's a certain level of things that you expect from your toddler, and there's a certain level of things that you expect from your teenager. Those things supposed to be different. Because the teenager is supposed to have more understanding than the toddler. So that means there's a higher level of responsibility when it comes to their actions. Yahweh is the same way in this word. You can't teach and proclaim yourself to be wise while operating as a fool and think that he's not going to deal with that. Let's go to 1 Samuel chapter 15.
First Samuel chapter 15 and verse 1. Samuel also said unto Saul, Yahweh sent me to anoint you to be king over his people, over Israel. Now therefore hearken you unto the voice of the words of Yahweh. Thus says Yahweh of hosts, I remember that which Amalek did to Israel, how he laid wait for him in the way, when he came up from Egypt. Now go and smite Amalek, and utterly destroy all that they have, and spare them not, but slay both man and woman, infant and suckling, ox and sheep, camel and ass.
Now, Yahweh was pretty descriptive about his instructions. Now, one of the things, if you have placed Yahweh in the love box, then his instructions is going to throw you off at this point. Because you let somebody put you in a place where Yahweh, God is love. It even sound nice when they say it. Mm-hmm. So when he tell you that righteous judgment, see, a king is doing Yahweh's bidding. You are executing the things that Yahweh wants executed. You don't get to have your own thought process about the things that are taking place. You don't get to try to figure out what you think about his job at this point. You are executing this thing. Go ahead.
And Saul gathered the people together and numbered them in Telaim, 200,000 footmen and 10,000 men of Yehuda. And Saul came to a city of Amalek and laid wait in the valley. And Saul said unto the Kenites, Go, depart, get you down from among the Amalekites, lest I destroy you with them. For you showed kindness to all the children of Israel when they came up out of Egypt. So the Kenites departed from among the Amalekites. And Saul smote the Amalekites from Havilah until you come to Shur, that is, over against Egypt. And he took Agag, the king of the Amalekites, alive, and utterly destroyed all the people with the edge of the sword. But Saul and the people spared Agag, and the best of the sheep, and of the oxen, and of the fatlings, and the lambs, and all that was good, and would not utterly destroy them.
He would not utterly follow his instruction. Go ahead.
But everything that was vile and refuse, that they destroyed utterly.
Everything that was vile and refuse is trash. Everything that they thought wasn't worthy, they destroyed it. Go ahead.
Then came the word of Yahweh unto Samuel, saying, It repents me that I have set up Saul to be king, for he's turned back from following me, and has not performed my commandments, and it grieved Samuel. And he cried unto Yahweh all night.
Now, this is where you find yourself in a different place than your Elohim. This is where it gets interesting, because Saul, understand, Samuel was sent to anoint Saul in front of everybody. So now, is he thinking about his own thing? Well, now the people going to question me. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm the one that anointed him, and now you're going to tell me that it repented that you have anointed him, but they saw me. See, now they're going to be looking at me all disrespectful. You the one anointed him. Well, Yahweh told me to. So now, he is grieved and crying unto Yahweh about this disobedient individual. See, you have to realize when Yahweh take a left and you still on the road. Go ahead.
And when Samuel rose early to meet Saul in the morning, it was told Samuel, saying, Saul came to Carmel, and behold, he set him up a place, and is gone about, and passed on, and gone down to Gilgal. And Samuel came to Saul, and Saul said unto him, Blessed be you of Yahweh. I have performed the commandments of Yahweh. And Samuel said, What mean then this bleating of the sheep in mine ears?
Right. If you follow the instructions, why do I hear sheep? Didn't he say kill everything? Well, I took your instruction to mean everything that we didn't like. Go ahead.
And the lowing of oxen, which I hear. And Saul said, They have brought them from the Amalekites, for the people spared the best of the sheep and of the oxen to sacrifice unto Yahweh your Elohim, and the rest we've utterly destroyed. Then Samuel said unto Saul, Stay, and I will tell you what Yahweh has said to me this night. And he said unto him, Say on. Samuel said, When you was little in your own sight, was you not made the head of the tribes of Israel, and Yahweh anointed you king over Israel? And Yahweh sent you on a journey and said, Go and utterly destroy the sinners, the Amalekites.
Go and utterly destroy the sinners, the Amalekites. This didn't have anything to do with Saul. This was Yahweh bringing righteous judgment upon those individuals. There's no part of his decision in this action. So now, and this is the part that we don't get, you just cause Yahweh's job to fall as a righteous judge over the earth. Understand, those people have done a considerable amount of wrong to other people. Yahweh is using you to bring forth judgment. You didn't decide that you're not going to do it. You didn't just hurt yourself by not following the instructions. You hurt Yahweh's position as the Elohim over the earth. Go ahead.
And fight against them until they be consumed. Wherefore then did you not obey the voice of Yahweh, but did fly upon the spoil and did evil in the sight of Yahweh? And Saul said unto Samuel, Yeah, I have obeyed the voice of Yahweh.
You see how some people, you can't convince them that they're in the wrong. They are already convinced that no matter what you say, they are in the right. You can't even explain to him how he's wrong. He has already decided he's right. Go ahead.
And have gone the way which Yahweh sent me. And I brought Agag, the king of Amalek, and have utterly destroyed the Amalekites. But the people took of the spoil.
Once again, it's somebody else's problem. See, but the people took it. See, never owning up. The first thing you find about the principles of the preserved is they take ownership of their deeds, right or wrong. Go ahead.
The chief of the things which should have been utterly destroyed, to sacrifice unto Yahweh your Elohim in Gilgal.
He got a reason now. See, he got a reason why he didn't. First, he swear he followed the instruction. Now he got a reason why he didn't follow the instruction. Go ahead.
And Samuel said, has Yahweh as great delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices as in obeying the voice of Yahweh? Behold, to obey is better than sacrifice, and to hearken than the fat of rams. For rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft, and stubbornness is as lawlessness and idolatry.
Now, let that sink in. Rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft. You shall not suffer a witch to live. Rebellion. Then stubbornness. Stubborn, I tell you one thing, you're going to do something else. I say go to the left. You say, no, I ain't going to the left. I'm going to the right. I say go straight. I ain't going straight. I'm going to go over on this side. This is stubbornness. You're not going to instruct me. I will not be instructed. Stubbornness is as lawlessness and idolatry. You might well go ahead and worship a false god. Do we see that? Do we see that our stubbornness, you might as well go ahead and get you a pocket god. Because you ain't worshiping this one. You're too stubborn to worship this one. He can't use any of his servants to instruct you. You are uninstructable. Go ahead.
You know, as adults, if you forget what stubbornness is, you look at the little baby when you tell him go sit down. He says, no, I don't want to. Yep. He take off and go the other way. That's us.
Yep. Oh, yeah, no doubt. Go ahead.
And Saul said unto Samuel, end of verse 23, because you have rejected the word of Yahweh, he has also rejected you from being king. And Saul said unto Samuel, I've sinned, for I've transgressed the commandment of Yahweh.
Do you see how much you got to do to convince some people that they have actually sinned? If you had spent half of the time trying to convince yourself that you didn't do nothing, you know how closer you would have been to repentance? He got to get all the way down here before he says, I have transgressed the commandment of Yahweh. What made him say that? When Yahweh took something from him. He didn't get to that point until something got took. I take this jar away from you. I have sinned. You didn't get that through all this other conversation that we had. You didn't get that at all. Once you lose something, now you realize that you have transgressed. Why does that have to be that way with us? Go ahead.
In your words, because I feared the people and obeyed their voice. Now therefore, I pray you, pardon my sin and turn again with me, that I may worship Yahweh. And Samuel said unto Saul, I will not turn with you, for you have rejected the word of Yahweh, and Yahweh has rejected you from being king over Israel. And as Samuel turned about to go away, he laid hold upon the skirt of his mantle, and it rent.
Now, you have to see what kind of violent individual Saul is. That he grabs the servant of Yahweh so hard that he rips his clothing. You have to understand that this is a violent individual. And as you read through this, you find out Saul had a real anger management problem. You gonna grab the servant of Yahweh to the point where he rip. You know how hard it is to rip somebody's clothes? And it's somebody that you trying to have a peaceful situation with. Now imagine if he's really trying to hurt him. He's trying to get something out of him peacefully and still ripped his clothing. That's a different kind of individual. Go ahead.
And Samuel said unto him, Yahweh has rent the kingdom of Israel from you this day and has given it to a neighbor of yours that is better than you. And also the strength of Israel will not lie nor repent, for he is not a man that he should repent. Then he said, I've sinned, yet honor me now, I pray you, before the elders of my people.
Yeah, you know, in public, you know what I'm saying? Don't make me look bad in front of the people. You know, just come and worship Yahweh, you know what I'm saying, while everybody looking. Go ahead.
And before Israel, and turn again with me, that I may worship Yahweh your Elohim. So Samuel turned again after Saul, and Saul worshipped Yahweh.
So Samuel still got a soft spot for him. See, you have to realize when Yahweh has turned, but you have decided in your stubbornness that you're going to keep going straight. Go ahead.
You know, what's also interesting is it took Samuel to stay with you for you to continue to worship Yahweh.
Mm-hmm.
You don't realize that we keep some people on the course. You cut them off
yeah.
and you realize they'll drop off.
Yep. They was only in the word because you was in it. Go ahead.
Then said Samuel, bring you hither to me Agag, the king of the Amalekites. And Agag came unto him delicately. And Agag said, surely the bitterness of death is past. And Samuel said, as your sword has made women childless, so shall your mother be childless among women. And Samuel hewed Agag in pieces before Yahweh in Gilgal.
Now this is the prophet doing the job that the king's supposed to do. So this is when you know that you are in ultimate stubbornness and rebellion because somebody else has to do your job. Go ahead.
Then Samuel went to Ramah, and Saul went up to his house to Gibeah of Saul. And Samuel came no more to see Saul until the day of his death. Nevertheless, Samuel mourned for Saul.
Now, this is the thing you have to see, that Yahweh doesn't care who it is. Even though Samuel is one of the greatest prophets that Israel has ever had, he is on the wrong place when it comes to Saul. With all of the stuff that is done, he's still in the place where he was. Remember now, he the one that anointed him. Go ahead, keep reading.
And Yahweh repented that he had made Saul king over Israel. And Yahweh said unto Samuel, how long will you mourn for Saul?
How long is it going to take you to get on the same page I'm on? You just going to stay on your page. How long is it going to take you to get on my page? I done told you I'm done with him. You can mourn all you want. We have to recognize when Yahweh has turned. Go ahead.
Seeing I have rejected him from reigning over Israel, fill your horn with oil and go. I will send you to Jesse the Bethlehemite, for I have provided me a king among his sons.
Now this is where things get interesting. Although he's mourning for him, look at what he knows about the individual. Go ahead.
And Samuel said, how can I go? If Saul will hear it, he will kill me.
Stop. You got to think about the confusion that Yahweh had. Okay, so wait a minute. So let me get this straight. So you crying to me about him, yet you know that if I send you to anoint somebody else, he going to kill you. Explain that to me. I'm going to need you to explain. Don't explain it. I need you to explain this one. Because what's got to be happening in here? That you know he going to kill you if I send you somewhere. Yet you keep whining to me about him. Explain that. But I tell you, sometimes even the righteous has a bit of stubbornness. Go ahead.
And Yahweh said, take an heifer with you and say, I'm come to sacrifice to Yahweh.
Check that out. Yahweh got to give him an alibi just to leave. Let's go to Malachi chapter 1. Now that's deep right there. Your God got to give you an alibi to preserve your life from the person that you keep praying to him for. Malachi chapter 1. And we're going to start that at verse 1.
The burden of the word of Yahweh to Israel by Malachi. I have loved you, says Yahweh, yet you say, wherein have you loved us? Was not Esau Jacob's brother, says Yahweh, yet I loved Jacob, and I hated Esau?
Now, you'll find a whole lot of people, especially the God has loved people, they're going to have some real problems right there. See, that's that Old Testament God. That's why we don't deal with him. See, that Old Testament God, he's just mean. He's just mean. He hates people. But see, the New Testament God, he loves everybody. So now they done made two gods. Go ahead.
And I hated Esau and laid his mountains and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness. Whereas Edom says, we're impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places.
Didn't they? Go ahead.
Thus says Yahweh of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness, and the people against whom Yahweh has indignation forever. And your eyes shall see, and you shall say, Yahweh will be magnified from the border of Israel. A son honors his father, and a servant his master. If then I be a father, where is mine honor? And if I be a master, where is my fear? Says Yahweh of hosts unto you, O priests that despise my name. And you say, wherein have we despised your name? You offer polluted bread upon mine altar, and you say, wherein have we polluted you? In that you say, the table of Yahweh is contemptible. And if you offer the blind for sacrifice, is it not evil? And if you offer the lame and sick, is it not evil?
Well, if you offer a half effort to Yahweh, is it not evil? Is it not evil? Then we go and do some natural stuff and we put our whole effort into it. You have justified your own wickedness. You have justified that it's wicked. You put forth a half effort when it had something to do with Yahweh and put together an effort and a half when it had something to do with the adversary of the devil. You caused your own work to be sin. Go ahead.
Offer it now unto your governor. Will he be pleased with you or accept your person? Says Yahweh of hosts. And now, I pray you, beseech Elohim that he will be gracious unto us. This has been by your means. Will he regard your persons? Says Yahweh of hosts. Who is there even among you that would shut the doors for naught? Neither do you kindle fire on mine altar for naught. I have no pleasure in you, says Yahweh of hosts, neither will I accept an offering at your hand. For from the rising of the sun even unto the going down of the same, my name shall be great among the Gentiles.
Now, wait a minute. If you got Hebrews that said the Gentiles can't come in, the Gentiles can't do this, how is his name going to be great among the Gentiles if they're not allowed to worship and serve? How's his name going to be great that way? Go ahead.
And in every place incense shall be offered unto my name, and a pure offering, for my name shall be great among the heathen, says Yahweh of hosts.
My name, not my title, not God, Lord. None of those things. Name, not Hashem, or any other title you want to make up to keep from saying his name. His name shall be great. Go ahead.
But you have profaned it, in that you say, the table of Yahweh is polluted, and the fruit thereof, even his meat, is contemptible. You said also, behold, what a weariness is it, and you have snuffed at it, says Yahweh of hosts, and you brought that which was torn, and the lame, and the sick.
Right, we brought forth a half effort. We said we're going to meet up here at 11. We get here at 12:30. We say practice at 8. We get there at 9, forgot all the stuff that we supposed to have to practice with. We come to band practice, we ain't got no trumpet. Bruh, first of all, you late, but how you plan on practicing the trumpet and you didn't bring it? Yeah, you brought the sick and the lame and offered it unto Yahweh. Go ahead.
Thus you brought an offering. Should I accept this of your hand, says Yahweh? But cursed be the deceiver, which has in his flock a male, and vows and sacrifices unto the Adonai a corrupt thing.
In other words, you have the ability to give forth a better effort. You just didn't offer it to me. You brought forth your better effort somewhere else. You didn't bring it to me. Then you brought the lame and the sick. Go ahead.
For I am a great king, says Yahweh of hosts, and my name is dreadful among the heathen.
All right, let's go to Genesis chapter 25. See, it says that Yahweh our Elohim is a jealous Elohim. And we put him in a strange place when we offer up something better to Lucifer than we offered up to Yahweh our Elohim. Genesis chapter 25, and we're going to start that at verse 19.
And these are the generations of Esau, Abraham's son. Abraham begot Esau. And Esau was 40 years old when he took Rebekah to wife, the daughter of Bethuel, the Syrian of Paddan Aram, the sister to Laban the Syrian. And Esau entreated Yahweh for his wife because she was barren. And Yahweh was entreated of him, and Rebekah his wife conceived. And the children struggled together within her, and she said, If it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of Yahweh.
And you know, this is always one of those things where Esau went to pray for her to become pregnant. Once she started having problems, it was her that prayed after that point. Esau didn't. Go ahead.
And Yahweh said unto her, 2 nations are in your womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from your bowels.
Now, maybe if Esau had prayed, he would have got this answer. But she the one who went to pray, and Yahweh gave the answer to her. Why was that not important to him? Go ahead.
And the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger.
So then she gets a prophecy that is a problem because it goes against the so-called order of the land, because everything should go to the firstborn. Yahweh said it ain't going to be so with this one. Go ahead.
And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. And the first came out red all over like a hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. And after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold on Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob. And Esau was 80 years old when she bare them. And the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter, a man of the field, and Jacob was a plain man, dwelling in tents.
All right, so you got twins, but they operate differently. Now, keep reading.
And Esau loved Esau.
He didn't just love Esau. Keep reading.
Because he did eat of his venison, but Rebekah loved Jacob.
So he had a reason why he loved one more than the other. He loved him for what was provided by him. You have to look at anything that gets you off the same page that Yahweh is on. It says, we shall not accept a gift or a bribe. Was this his bribe? Go ahead.
And Jacob sowed pottage, and Esau came from the field, and he was faint. And Esau said to Jacob, Feed me, I pray you, with that same red pottage, for I am faint. Therefore was his name called Edom. And Jacob said, Sell me this day your birthright. And Esau said, Behold, I am at the point to die, and what profit shall this birthright do to me? Jacob said, Swear to me this day. And he sware unto him, and he sold his birthright unto Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau bread and pottage of lentils, and he did eat and drink, and rose up and went his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright.
Now this is Yahweh's perspective on this, that Esau despised his birthright. So when you talk about, a situation, we have to learn to not care about somebody's situation more than they do. I've painfully been taught that lesson over and over. And ain't nothing like family to teach you the lesson that you need to learn, You cannot care more about their situation than they care. You looking and it's like, man, you gonna go to jail if you don't do such and such, and you running over here and you doing such and such, and you on lost sleep and you doing that, and they over in the club. Shooting you pictures. What up, dog? Holla back. You're going to jail tomorrow. Then you realize, you know what? I'm the only fool losing sleep here. I'm the fool in this situation. I care more about their situation than they. You know what I'm finna do? I'm finna go sit down. I just wait for the call to come. You have a collect call from an inmate in a correctional facility. You can't care about somebody's situation more than they care. Let's go to Matthew chapter 23. Matthew chapter 23, and we're going to start that at verse 13.
But woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you shut up the kingdom of heaven against men. For you neither go in yourselves, neither suffer you them that are entering to go in.
Now, you have this situation where Yahweh says he hated Esau. Then you have Yahshua calling out these scribes and Pharisees. It is about the principles that these people walk in. He does not care for those principles. So then he's dealing with those people. But he's not shut up on every person of them has to be evil. Yahshua will still deal with a publican. Yahshua will still deal with a Pharisee. He didn't have the problem with people. He had the problem with the principles that those people walked by. What we will do is get locked in on the people and won't pay attention to the principle, so we stuck on disliking the individual person or people and never pay attention to what principles are coming forth from those people. That means you got to be able to, even though it says something about a publican, if you meet a righteous publican, a tax collector, you got to be able to deal with it. He says these things about Pharisees, but if there's a righteous Pharisee, you got to be able to deal with them. Or have you already put them in a pile and they are not able to make it out of that pile? Go ahead.
Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you devour widows' houses, and for a pretense make long prayer. Therefore you shall receive the greater damnation. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you compass sea and land to make one proselyte, and when he is made, you make him twofold more the child of hell than yourselves. Woe unto you, you blind guides, which say, Whosoever shall swear by the temple, it is nothing, but whosoever shall swear by the gold of the temple, he is a debtor. You fools and blind, for whether is greater, the gold or the temple that sanctifies the gold? And whosoever shall swear by the altar, it is nothing, but whosoever swears by the gift that is upon it, he is guilty. You fools and blind, for whether is greater, the gift or the altar that sacrifices the gift? Whoso therefore shall swear by the altar, swears by it and by all things thereon. And whoso shall swear by the temple, swears by it and by him that dwells therein. And he that shall swear by heaven, swears by the throne of Elohim and by him that sits thereon. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you pay tithe of mint and anise and cumin, and have omitted the weightier matters of the law, judgment, mercy, and faith. These ought you to have done, and not to leave the other undone. You blind guides, which strain at a gnat and swallow a camel. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you make clean the outside of the cup and of the platter, but within you within they are full of extortion and excess. You blind Pharisees, cleanse first that which is within the cup and platter, that the outside of them may be clean also.
Now, Yahshua's going in pretty hard, you know, and people will say, you know, God is love, but I tell you what, when he starts lashing out, I'm sure they didn't feel very loved. Because we got our own definition of what we're dealing with, but this is to try to push them off their point. So he's calling them out. These people may not see you, but I see you. I see how you operate, and I know what it is. Some of those Pharisees will come out of that. Some of those scribes will come out of that. Go ahead.
Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you are like unto whited sepulchres, which indeed appear beautiful outward, but are within full of dead men's bones and of all uncleanness. Even so you also outwardly appear righteous unto men, but within you're full of hypocrisy and lawlessness.
And this is something that we have to then consider. What does Yahweh look at? You will encounter a whole lot of people that'll tell you about whether it be wearing the fringes, whether it be all of these other things, but Yahweh is looking deeper than your outward appearance. You have to have something. He's looking for something else that is deeper than that. Let's go to Romans chapter 2. Romans chapter 2, and we're going to start that at verse 12.
For as many as have sinned without law shall also perish without law, and as many as have sinned in the law shall be judged by the law.
Right. You have a whole lot of people that says that they are not subject to the law. They say the law was nailed to the cross. They don't understand what law that they're even speaking of, which is sacrificial law. All the dietary and moral law code is still in effect. But see, those same people, if you go and violate their houses, they would have a problem. That means that they know that the law code is still in effect. Go ahead.
For not the hearers of the law are just before Elohim, but the doers of the law shall be justified. For when the Gentiles, which have not the law, do by nature the things contained in the law, these, having not the law, are a law unto themselves, which show the work of the law written in their hearts, their conscience also bearing witness, and their thoughts the meanwhile accusing or else excusing one another. In the day when Elohim shall judge the secrets of men by Yahshua HaMashiach according to my gospel, behold, you are called a Yehudi, and resteth in the law, and make your boast of Elohim, and knoweth his will, and approveth the things that are more excellent, being instructed out of the law.
So the children of Israel are to be instructed out of the law. Go ahead.
And are confident that you yourself are a guide to the blind, a light of them which are in darkness, an instructor of the foolish, a teacher of babes, which has the form of knowledge and of the truth in the law. You therefore which teaches another, teach you not yourself? You that preaches a man should not steal, does you steal? You that says a man should not commit adultery, does you commit adultery? And you that abhorreth idols, does you commit sacrilege? You that maketh your boast of the law, through breaking the law, dishonoreth you Elohim? For the name of Elohim is blasphemed among the Gentiles through you, as it is written. For circumcision verily profits, if you keep the law. But if you be a breaker of the law, your circumcision is made uncircumcision. Therefore, if the uncircumcision keep the righteousness of the law, shall not his uncircumcision be counted for circumcision? And shall not uncircumcision, which is by nature, if it fulfill the law, judge you, who by the letter and circumcision does transgress the law? For he is not a Yehudi, which is one outwardly.
He is not a Yehudi, which is one outwardly. So then Yahweh is still looking, even when it comes down to the children of Israel, he's looking for certain principles. He's not looking for your DNA chart. Go ahead.
neither is that circumcision which is outward in the flesh. But he is a Yehudi, which is one inwardly, and circumcision is that of the heart, in the spirit and not in the letter, whose praise is not of men, but of Elohim.
But he is a Yehudi, which is one inwardly, and circumcision is that of the heart. A circumcised heart operates a certain way. A circumcised heart has certain principles. He's examining the principles while we are thinking and dealing with certain people. You may have people who you may not be accustomed to looking at in the word, but they abide by certain principles. Those are the things that Yahweh is examining. And we have to make sure that we don't end up on a separate road than the road that Yahweh and Yahshua is on. Let's go to Revelation chapter 2. Revelation chapter 2, and we're going to read verses 1 through 7.
On to the angel of the church of Ephesus write, these things says he that holds the 7 stars in his right hand, who walks in the midst of the 7 golden candlesticks. I know your works and your labor and your patience, and how you cannot bear them which are evil. And you have tried them which say they are apostles and are not, and have found them liars.
And you have to examine. You have all of these false apostles who said that they are doing the work of the ministry, but then you have to be able to go in the word and examine that and watch their walk. A lot of these things are all about the pomp and circumstance of outside show. But when you examine those dealings, you look at those principles and you find, oh, no. You're not a servant of my Adonai. Go ahead.
And have borne and have patience, and for my name's sake has labored and has not fainted. Nevertheless, I have somewhat against you, because you have left your first love. Remember therefore from whence you are fallen, and repent and do the first works, or else I will come unto you quickly, and will remove your candlestick out of his place, except you repent. But this you have, that you hate the deeds of the Nicolaitans.
Hate the deeds, all right? Their principles, not hating the people. You got to be able to examine the deeds no matter what people they come from. Go ahead.
Which I also hate.
Which I also hate. Go ahead.
He that has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says unto the churches. To him that overcomes will I give to eat of the tree of life, which is in the midst of the paradise of Elohim.
Right. But see, when we look at some of these people who pretend to be laborers in this word, it throws people because they say, oh, well, these are big organizations. But there's just certain things that you have to read to find out whether or not what authorizes someone, and you find out that those groups will not do that thing. And then you have to ask yourself, why is that? Let us hear the conclusion of this matter. Let's go to Acts chapter 19. And at the end of the day, you have to wonder. They must know that they're not real servants, because they know to avoid certain things. They know to avoid it. Acts chapter 19, and we're going to read verses 1 through 20.
And it came to pass that, while Apollos was at Corinth, Saul, having passed through the upper coast, came to Ephesus. And finding certain disciples, he said unto them, have you received the Holy Spirit since you believe? And they said unto him, we have not so much as heard whether there be any Holy Spirit.
Anytime you hear some statement like that you don't even know that there's a Holy Spirit, the next thing shows how important this act is. Keep reading.
And he said unto them, unto what then were you baptized?
So when they hadn't heard of the Spirit, the first thing he wanted to know is, tell me about your baptism. What do you mean? The type of baptism authorizes whether or not I will get the Spirit? Keep reading.
You know, my brother, that's interesting because you've recently been talking about, you know, the natural and the spiritual. Now we understand why some people can't deal with the spiritual because they still on that natural. We Israel.
You got it.
Can't get past the natural.
Right. They stuck on the fringes. They don't have no fringes on the inside, so they have to put them on their clothes. See, when you got a circumcised heart, there's already a fringe on it. I don't need nobody to cut open my heart and surgically put fringes in there. When you got a circumcised heart, it's in there spiritually. But when they walking in the flesh, they can't move without their fringes. Go ahead.
And they said, on to Johannan's baptism. Then said Saul, Johanan verily baptized with the baptism of repentance, saying unto the people that they should believe on him which should come after him, that is, on the Mashiach Yahshua. When they heard this, they were baptized in the name of the Adonai Yahshua. And when Saul had laid his hands upon them, the Holy Spirit came on them, and they spake with tongues and prophesied. And all the men were about 12. And when he went into the synagogue and spake boldly for the space of 3 months, disputing and persuading the things concerning the kingdom of Elohim, but when divers were hardened and believed not, but spake evil of that way before the multitude, he departed from them and separated the disciples, disputing daily in the school of one Tyrannus. And this continued by the space of 2 years, so that all they which dwelt in Asia heard the word of the Adonai Yahshua, both Yehudis and Greeks. And Elohim wrought special miracles by the hands of Saul, so that from his body were brought onto the sick handkerchiefs or aprons, and the diseases departed from them, and the evil spirits went out of them.
Right. Now this is what causes people to want to be a part of this ministry. Now they see something that they can use, and they can get financial gain out of this right here. Go ahead.
Then certain of the vagabond Yehudis.
Now, they Yehudis, they still are Jews, but they're not ones who walk in this doctrine, though. Go ahead.
Exorcists took upon them to call over them which had evil spirits in the name of the Adonai Yahshua, saying, We adjure you by Yahshua whom Saul preacheth. And there were 7 sons of one Sceva, a Yehudi, and chief of the priests, which did so.
Chief of the priests, okay? But let me show you what the demons recognize and what the demons hold to authority. They don't care that you are Yehudi. They don't care you a Jew. They don't care if you chief of the priests. Check out what they care about. Go ahead.
And the evil spirit answered and said, Yahshua I know, and Saul I know, but who are you?
Stop. What are the 2 things that they had in common? Baptism. I don't recognize you. Who you? Who you? I don't recognize. Yahshua I know. Saul I know. Who you? Now understand, we're talking about Jews and chief of the priests. You ain't got no baptism. Who you? You ain't got the covering of Yahshua on you. I know you ain't walk up to me like that. You got to understand, when a demon confronts you, you're dealing with somebody who knows Yahshua. He also knows that you don't have his stamp on you. You can't fool him. Remember now, as the demons would come out, he would tell them, be quiet. Don't tell these people who I am. So the demons know him better than you know him. Thereby, he know that his stamp ain't on you. So we might be able to fool men, but when things get hairy, that demon gonna check you. Let me see your Yahshua card. Let me see it. I just want just let me hold it. I just want to see you got baptized in the name of Yahshua. Oh, you didn't? You about to be cold in a minute. Go ahead.
And the man in whom the evil spirit was leapt on them, and overcame them, and prevailed against them, so that they fled out of that house naked and wounded.
You about to be cold in a minute. You about to be cold. You about to drop all them clothes and run up out of here. You gonna learn today. You ain't got a stamp on you. You don't have any authority. I don't respect nothing that you saying. This may work in the certain circles of men. But when that demon approach you, he going to be looking for your Yahshua card. And if you don't have that card, start running. You can have conversations on the corner all you want. People can march down the street with a bunch of other people in the same clothing. But when them demons approach, that's going to be a whole lot of nakedness running down the street. Go ahead, bro.
And this was known to all the Yehudis and Greeks also dwelling at Ephesus. And fear fell on them all. And the name of the Adonai Yahshua was magnified. And many that believed came and confessed and showed their deeds. Many of them also which used curious arts brought their books together and burnt them before all men.
Now, you see what happened when somebody gets to a revelation point? They change their course. They change their course when they realize, hey, you know what? I'm in the wrong. Go ahead.
And they counted the price of them and found it 50,000 pieces of silver. So mighty grew the word of Elohim and prevailed.
Right. And when we get down to why those demons didn't respect him, those demons are even looking for certain principles. Here it is, Yahweh looks at certain principles. Yahshua looks at certain principles, but even the demons look for certain principles. Yahshua I know. Saul I know. Who are you? I don't recognize no authority from you. Now we can go in Romans chapter 9 and it says, to the Israelites are given all of these things. But which Israelites? Them naked dudes running down the street, they were Israelites too. Wait a minute, now wait a minute. Is Romans 9 apply to all Israelites? If so, why them dudes running naked? It didn't apply to them. They didn't have no stamp. Acts chapter 2 said there's none other name under heaven given among men whereby we must be saved. Well, then that's how you get the stamp then. So what you're doing, you know, everybody, we all have our little time that we deal with. Hope you don't run into a demon before you get your stamp. You might want to have your God card before you run into that demon, because he going to want to see that God card. And if he don't see that God card on you, you're leaving out of that cold. That's all that we're going to do for today. Remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.